Go.
Hey, Breaking Brown family. Once again, it's Yvette Carnell coming to you as I do every Monday and Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Got a lot that I want to get through tonight to talk about, but as usual, I want to do a little housekeeping. As I do every episode, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping and kind of get some stuff straight. Get some stuff straight that we need to deal with, that we need to take care of and handle that, and things that we need to handle. I don't know what's going on. Okay, there it is. So the first thing I want to do is the same thing I say every episode. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that little bell. There's a little bell where you'll get notifications. Because some people say, well, I missed the live show. I didn't know you were coming on. Just hit it. So if I go live, if I do a quick hit, you'll get it. And you'll get a notification, hey, Yvette's live or whatever. Or Yvette went live or whatever. So hit that little thing. It looks like a bell. If you're watching on Facebook, like this, and also share it. So like it and then share it with, share it on your page. Also, I want to say this. If you are watching this video and you watch in groups, and you communicate in groups a lot on Facebook groups, please share this with your group. Share this with your Facebook group. Okay? Also, in terms of housekeeping, we've had some people say that they didn't get the newsletter. If you didn't get the newsletter, email me at editor@breakingbrown.com. Also, please be sure to check not only your spam box, but check your promotions box too, because sometimes it's in promotions. So make sure you check both of those. If not, just send me a message. And those of you who have sent the message, I do have the message, and I'm gonna make sure you're added and send you whatever, the previous one that you may have missed. So don't worry about that. If you already subscribe to Breaking Brown, like you have a monthly donation that you pay, in terms of like $3, $7, $10, $25, $100, whatever. And you want to get the newsletter, send me a message, an email at editor@breakingbrown.com, and I'll add you to the list if you're already contributing. Because if you're already contributing, I don't want you to miss out on getting the newsletter. It comes out every Sunday, so I don't want you to miss out on that. So take care of that. And if you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, go to breakingbrown.com. You can subscribe to the newsletter there. You can also make a monthly donation there at breakingbrown.com. You can also, if you want to just make a one-time donation as opposed to a recurring one, you can go to donatebrown.com. If you want to just be added to our list, we're compiling a list because we don't want to be stuck to YouTube or stuck to Facebook. So go to subscribetobrown.com. You can do that as well. So there are a lot of options in terms of what you can do. Also, some of you have let me know that you can't pay for the newsletter with another credit card. Like somebody sent me a screenshot. And so you can only pay if you have a PayPal account. So the intern and I are working on that, and I just want to let you know that that's something that we're trying to take care of as well. So let's see, donate. So I have everything. I think I have everything taken care of in terms of what we need to do. And so also, if you all are, if you thank me, if you wish me a happy birthday today, I want to thank you. I appreciate it. Let me tilt that to the side like that.
There you go.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for wishing me happy birthday. I can't get to all the messages, but I appreciate it. I want you to know that I appreciate you. I just couldn't get to all the messages today. I appreciate all of them. I got all of them. Thank you. I love you back. I just couldn't get to all of them, all right? So what I want to talk about today. Thank you, Army. I appreciate that. Hmm? What I want to talk about, I have a few things I want to talk about, but I don't even know if I'm going to get to all of them because I don't want to go over time, but let's get started. There is something in terms of there was an article that came out today, and it was an article from the Atlantic, and the article from the Atlantic was read basically this. It said Black Americans are working more with little to show for it. Black Americans are working more with little to show for it. And I just want to read you a little bit from that article to give you some kind of context. It says Valerie Wilson and Janelle Jones, economists at left-leaning Economic Policy Institute, took a look at the data for black and white workers between the years of 1979 and 2015. They found that both black and white workers between 18 and 64 years old have increased their number of paid annual hours of work in the past 36 years, which dismisses this whole myth of we're not working hard enough. We've increased. White people have increased too, but we've increased. Now think about this. According to the analysis by Wilson and Jones, the average black worker in 2015 put in 1,800 hours. or 12.4% more hours than they did in 1979. By contrast, the average white worker put in 1,888 hours for an increase of around 11%. So the trajectories are the same. These are basically the same trajectories. But look at what the finding is. With the increased hours of labor and climbing education levels, it would stand to reason that black workers in 2015 were in a better economic position than they were in 1979, but that's not really true. Black-white wage gaps are actually larger now than they were in 1979. The growing discrepancy is even more pronounced for the same low-income workers who are adding the most work hours. In 1979, white workers in the bottom 10% of earners made 3.6% more than black workers in the lowest income bracket. In 2015, the poorest white workers made 11.8% more. So what this is saying is that, what this is basically saying is that we're working harder. We're doing better, but we're not making any gains. And so one of the things that, and we always talked about a wealth disparity, but what you see here too is a wage disparity. So you got a wealth disparity and a wage disparity, right? You have both of these things. You have both of these things happening at the same time. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean for me? Well, the question that I'm asking myself, the question that I can't help but ask myself is this: how did we get here? How did we get to a point? How did we get to this point where we don't have a black politics, and we feel like you have this ethos in the black community that, well, as long as I work hard, or as long as I do this, so I can be an entrepreneur, I can do this, that, or the other thing, and I can be successful, and I can be this, and it's all devoid of black politics. It's seen as individual. So when I look at that, I ask myself, how did we get here? How did we get to a point where everything is based on hard work, and we're working harder, and we're not seeing the gains? Like, what kind of black politics got us here? That's the question I'm asking myself. So when I ask myself that question, one thing that keeps occurring to me as I ask myself that question is I keep referring back to the legacy of Booker T. Washington. And for me, it's a complicated legacy. Because I hear people say to me, well, Yvette, Booker T. Washington, we should have went the way of Booker, and we should have done for self. We should have went the way of Booker, and we should have done for self. Well, if you read the book Up From Slavery, one of the things that becomes clear is that, and very clear to me and everyone else, if you read the book, he attributes so much of his success to white people. He talks about this white slave owner, in addition to another black man who's done so much for him, who's contributed so much to Tuskegee and everything else. So this idea of a self-made black man, right, to me, just doesn't hold water.
Now remember, that's very important. He thanked a white private individual.
Yeah.
Not
owner,
the government.
Former slave owner.
He thanked for charity, not policy. It's not like the slave owner advocated for policy for black people. No, the slave owner helped Booker individually. And Booker, who is heralded as this do for self icon, is in his own words saying that, I attribute so much of who I am and what I have to white people. I mean, there's even one point in the book where he says basically, how he talks. One of the things I realized when I read Up From Slavery, and I mention this because I'm rereading it because I really want to understand what he said and then juxtapose that to what has been said about him. And he goes into this whole thing of, talking about white people and talking about how good they are. And, the white woman who he encountered when he went to Hampton, and she was cleaning, and he understood how cleaning was because he was around this white woman, and how much the slave loved the white people that they worked for. And he says at one point in the book, if you broke into a slave owner's house, then if you broke into a slave owner's house, that the slave who lived in that house would be the first one to kill you, because he would lay down his life for the white family. Now, if I were to say something like this, you would call me a coon. You would call me a name. So what I'm saying to you is, read the book.
Yes, read the book.
Don't listen to all of the Booker T. Washington fans. It's a short book. Read the book.
And I think it's a very short book, and it's a very easy read. You can read it in a day. It's a very short book, very easy read. I'm like 3/4 of the way through rereading it, and I think we need to couple that with another book that I'm going to mention in a minute. But I think we need to reread that, and I think we need to make that one of our projects. I think we need to make Booker T. Washington and understanding his legacy, one of our projects. And I'm trying to understand him in the, I understand the context. This man is in the 1800s, all of that stuff. But I also understand that he called people who were union organizers, agitators. So, to say that you're an agitator, do you know how many rights that were won in terms of working class people because of those quote unquote agitators? So what I'm seeing in terms of Booker T. Washington, that he's a conservative. But the same people who hate conservatives and hate Republicans and hate Ben Carson and hate Donald Trump, you love Booker T. Washington. And I haven't been able to make that fit in my own mind. And what you have is this thing. You wonder if Booker T. Washington is well known for what he did for black people, or if he's most well known because of the white people who picked him and chose him.
Go into that a little bit more. That's a very, very important point. I didn't know that, but Yvette told me before, apparently there were other contenders to the throne at the time.
When you talk about the Colored Farmers Alliance and all this stuff, you had other stuff happening, right? You had other unions happening. You had other people who were trying to come together as working class people and do stuff. And then you have the rise of Booker T, who says right before Plessy versus Ferguson, we can have two hands that are intertwined and be strong. We can be separate but equal. And separate but equal never worked. There was no separate but equal. There was separate and unequal. So it's almost as if he laid the ground for Plessy. And he extended Jim Crow in a way that we still haven't grappled with as a community. Scholars have grappled with it, but we haven't grappled with it. And so what you have
and he was
is people
picked.
saying
Build that down. There were other people. There were other groups. There were
doing
other people
doing other things,
trying to figure out how to make this nation whole.
Yeah, trying to make.
And he was picked, and not by black people necessarily.
Yeah, not by black people. The people who paid, for you to thank a former slave, owner in your thing, the people who are most almost anti everything, you're this. The black nationalists are so pro Booker T, but Booker T is thanking. He's calling unions agitators. He's thanking a former slave owner. He's talking about how wonderful white people were in the 1800s to him. And so you're not making sense to me when you say that. I think that's what I'm trying to say. You're not making sense to me when you say those kinds of things. When you talk about Booker T. Washington that way, you don't make sense to me because of what I'm reading. And I think, there's another book about Booker T. Washington, which is the education of Booker T. Washington. And the takeaway from that, I'm reading that book right now, and the takeaway from that book, because I'm reading Up From Slavery and the Education of Booker T. Washington at the same time, and so the takeaway that I'm getting for that book is that he was picked, he was chosen, because they didn't want us to have access to black politics, so they gave us Booker instead to be our spokesman. And from that point on, what you had was this kind of race relations. As opposed to black politics, you had race relations.
Right. So we could have gone with the Colored Farmers National Alliance Cooperative Union.
Yeah. We could have gone with that, or you could have gone with Booker.
Yeah.
And we're still going with Booker.
Right.
And there's a great somebody, I can't remember one writer, it may have been, a writer talked about, and this was mentioned in the book.
Someone said he was chosen and molded just like Obama was.
It sounds about right to me. It sounds about, that's what I'm saying. This whole pull yourself up. Somebody, listen, if people say, well, Booker wanted us to do X, Y, Z, I think Booker wanted us to be what white people want us to be, a servant class. And Booker actually believed that if we did that, I think he may have believed, I don't know, I'm not sure, I'm not a scholar, but I think he may have believed if we laid our buckets down and worked hard, white people would be good to us. And they would be decent as long as we work for them and do what we were supposed to do. But what happened is that didn't happen. We got ran off of, property got stolen, we got ran off of our farms, sharecroppers got kicked off. He preached the goodwill that just didn't exist amongst the majority. Okay? So, I'm not saying, and in the book, that was a great thing that the writer said about, there was this statue or picture or something that had Booker T standing up front and all these black people coming with little stuff that they were going to use to hoe yards and hoe fences and do that kind of stuff, do basic menial work. And white people were standing idly by approvingly, and it was called progress. Okay? So if we were going to continue to be servants of the majority and in a caste-like system, that was going to be accepted. That's what it was going to be. And I don't know if many black nationalists would see that as progress if they really understood the legacy. So that's kind of what I'm saying. And now I'm not even saying that Booker T. Washington is all bad. There's one point I'm going to get to in a second. I think he actually made one good point. But what I want us to do, and this is my project, and this is what I'm asking you to do with me. This is my project, and I'm asking you to do this alongside me and with me. I want us to read both of these books. Read Up From Slavery and read, The Education of Booker T. Washington. And I want us to have this conversation. You can't go around, if you haven't read both of these books, you can't go around no more talking about Booker T and we should be, no, don't do that to me without reading both the books. Like, let's read both the books and let's have both of these conversations. I'm going to give you 2 months. What's the date? Today's my birthday. It's 29th. April 29th. May 29th. In that week, whenever that, the Monday or the Monday or the Monday or the Wednesday in that week, I'll tell you as the time goes on, we need to discuss both those books. And I need you to read both those books by then. And a lot of you have been asking for that.
I like this.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking for that. Yvette, what's on your book list? Well, right now this is on my book list. I'm reading both of these.
And it should be on yours.
And let me tell you, I'm done. I'm so done with people who want to have conversations without the information. I want us to read these books. Now, that's Booker T. Washington in his own words, and that's a book about Booker T. Washington. And let's read both these books and come back together in May and discuss what his legacy is. It's a complex, but let's discuss what it is. Because Booker T. Washington is in our politics. He hasn't gone away. The people who say they can do for self, a lot of that is kind of extracted from Booker T.
The Breaking Brown Book Club.
Yeah, let's do it. Because part of the project of this whole YouTube has been political education. That's been what part of it is about. We want to have a political education. That's what we want to do. So I don't see how else, I don't see how else we can do it. I don't see how else we can have a political education without reading books. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry about it. So I want everybody to, I don't think we've kind of grappled with the legacy of Booker T. Washington. And so I want us to read these books. The first book, Up From Slavery, is really short. It's not going to take you a long time to read. The Education of Booker T. Washington is a little bit longer. Okay, I'll put links to both of them, links to both books in the description a little bit later. But let's just read the books, people.
Yeah, you think you know what's in there, and it's not what you think.
And it's not what you think.
It's not what you think.
And he's very
Right.
honest in that book.
Right.
And it's not what you think. It's not what you think.
It's not what you've been told is in there.
Now,
There's a lot of kissing white individuals' butts and a lot of putting down black people.
and a lot of putting down like movements.
A lot of putting down
like the labor movement.
Right.
And I think we need to really, regardless of where you fall. I'm not one of those people who say, like, if you disagree with me, I'm never gonna talk to you no more. Like some of y'all do. I'm going to unsubscribe because that I don't do that. But we need to have a conversation because Booker's still in our politics. He's still, I think, not the conversation, the debate. I think we need to have the debate because Booker is still in our politics. And what he did was race relations as opposed to race politics. He didn't encourage us to get involved in politics and voting.
He actively discouraged.
Yeah, he actively discouraged that.
He said, I'll handle that.
You said something very interesting about that. Like today on your Facebook, you said that has, like, a lot of other people thought they could just keep their heads down. Like black boomers thought they could just keep their heads down and do that.
Okay, I can talk a little bit about. I can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean,
so I read Up From Slavery because this is Amy, the producer. I don't think I can put the camera on me right now. Let me see if I can try. I read Up From Slavery because my mom wanted me to read Up From Slavery. She was a career nurse, from South Carolina. Went to Grady Nursing School in Atlanta, and she said, you're in high school now. You should read Up From Slavery, and I did what my mom asked, and it wasn't my politics at the time. Well, I didn't really have a politics at the time, but I read it. And it actually, I could see the respectability of politics that informed a lot of my mom's life. But I could also see how that non-political tack could let it be the case that if you do that kind of respectability politics, especially if you're a boomer, you can actually do well. You can keep your head down. You can keep your job. You can do whatever your boss wants you to do, and you can make some money in that time. However, you can't be surprised when your kids don't do as well as you do. Honestly, my sister's not doing as well as she could be doing, and none of my extended family are doing as well as they could be doing. But you can't be surprised when your kids don't do as well as you do, because the only reason people like my mom were able to get and keep their jobs was because of black politics that was inspired by other people not affiliated with Booker T. Washington, like had laid the foundation, a half generation before her. So because of King and the civil rights group, and Bayard Rustin and all them, my mom gets and keeps her job, but she doesn't continue in the black politics. So then the next generation, the Gen Xers and the Gen Yers and the millennials, watch that door closed. So there are stakes, and that's, I guess, the importance of my diatribe. There are stakes in forgetting black politics. You might not feel them immediately, but since all problems are political, your community will feel them. Your family and extended family will feel them. So respectability politics might work at the individual level, but even at the level of your nuclear family, it can explain why 7 out of 10 people born in middle class who are black are going to fall into poverty because we didn't get our politics right. And I blame respectability politics for telling us not to do the quality of black politics we needed over the last 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Booker is kind of like, we can do our own, we can build our own schools. It's kind of how we got there. But there's one area, and people might disagree with me, and like I said, I'm fine with that. But there's one area where I think Booker was right. Booker talked about how when he was going around teaching, that he encountered all these black people who wanted to learn Latin and learn stuff that wasn't beneficial to their everyday life. They didn't know how to brush their teeth. They didn't know how to keep their clothes clean.
And that's, let's be honest, that's the stake. That we don't talk about. That's what happens when your entire culture is wiped out and your whole being is reformed in the image of property.
When you come from when you were a slave, when that's what you were. That's what you were. You don't know how to do those things because ain't nobody care if you bathe. Ain't nobody care if you brush your teeth. For what? Who you smiling at? Just go do what you need to do. You're property. You're a commodity. You're nothing else. So he talked about basically teaching black people how to do the basic stuff. So what I take away from that is that he did understand the limitations, and that may have informed his politics and why he thought that we couldn't be involved in that way, which I think is a problem. But that he did show our limitations in terms of politics, right? That is our limitations in terms of politics. But what black people are telling me now, and the Do for Self crowd are trying to say to me, is that those limitations don't exist anymore. Those limitations are gone. Yvette, slavery was a long time ago. Those limitations are over. And I know I've told you all that the wealth from slavery is still in the system and the poverty is still in the system. But I wanna show you all a clip in just a second. There's a clip I want to show you because I know some of you all like to watch Shark Tank. A lot of you, want to be entrepreneurs, like to watch Shark Tank. So Irony is going to show you a clip in a second of a Shark Tank. Now let me just preface what happens. Let me just preface this little Shark Tank episode. If you watch it later on, you don't see the Shark Tank episode. That's because I took it out because there was a copyright infringement or something. So if you don't see it later, it's gone. But listen, this is what I want to say. I'm going to preface this. Before I show it to you. This is a black woman. And she reminds me of a lot of you who says, Yvette, I can do a business as a market for me, and you think you understand something you don't understand, you don't understand what you don't understand. And so I kind of hear Booker T. Washington in my ear, like they don't understand what they don't understand. She's a black woman, and she says she's doing some kind of therapy business where you can do therapy online and charge like $20, and it's geared towards women, and and what else is it? It's called Pretty Padded Room. You can do your therapy online, and most of y'all would say, if I told most of y'all this right now, if I brought this woman to you, y'all would tell me, this is a great idea. I don't know what you're saying. She has a great business idea, Yvette. There's a market.
You have a problem with an black entrepreneur?
No.
You have a problem with black business, black capitalism?
No.
All right, well.
But look at this.
Let's go.
Black capitalism ain't what you think black capitalism is. Some of y'all know what y'all doing. Some of y'all sound like this when you talk to me, and I hear Booker in my ear. Play that beautiful beat.
I can go online and get a credible, licensed psychotherapist.
Yes.
What does it cost?
A trial session at $20 is a 30-minute session, and it's either through video chat or a digital diary.
And what are you paying the doctor?
It's a flat rate. So for $20, they get 16 of that. For $40, they get 30.
It raises the immediate question. If a therapist can't generate their own practice at $150 an hour, they'd be a discount therapist and they'd go to your deal because they're getting paid a whole lot less. So if I'm a good therapist, why would I do this?
I was actually trying to solve two problems with this business. I really did want to make therapy more approachable and, most importantly, affordable for the average consumer. Also, for new therapists who are just starting out, it's actually very difficult to just hang up a shingle and just automatically get clients like that.
Is this only for women?
We're women-oriented, but we have about 6% male membership, actually. It's a subscription-based service. There's 3 tiers of membership. $100 is 5 digital diary sessions, and that's when you can write into your therapist. It's an interactive journal. $150 is 4 30-minute sessions with video and 1 digital diary. At $200 is 4 45-minute sessions and 3 digital diaries.
When I use the digital diary to write to a therapist, am I doing that one-on-one? I'm basically emailing her, or am I going through your computer to do that?
It's through the site, and a lot of people appreciate that. It's a virtual office. I've been working on this for about 2.5 years. In our very first year, when we were offering free sessions and I was still working my full-time job as a domestic violence counselor, we did about $7,500 in sales.
$7,500?
Yes.
What was your average session price so we get an idea of the number of sessions that people played for?
The first session was free, and in the first 3 months, about 600 people did sign up.
600 signed up, and then how many actually paid for sessions?
Originally, so our conversion rate has always been right around 40%. So people who try up, about 40% end up going on and signing up for memberships. The average customer stays on for about 3 to 6 months.
What are you on course to do this year?
21,000.
But are you on target?
Yes, at this moment, we're halfway through our fiscal year.
But does it bother you, B, that after basically 3 years, right, you're talking about doing $20,000 in sales? I'm not even sure we're proving the concept here. I mean, that is absolutely nothing burger.
You've said that the average customer is 3 months?
3 to 6 months.
So what's the lifetime revenue value of the customers that you've had so far? Do you know?
The lifetime revenue.
So in other words, the average customer is online for 3 months. How much revenue are you typically collecting from that 3-month customer?
Between $300 and $500.
So your average...
$300 and $600.
I'm sorry?
$300 and $600, I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's a big range, so it's hard to get a feel.
B, something's not adding up for me. You had 600 people come into a session in the first year. If all the people from the first year converted into paid customers, you would be doing $60,000 a year under your minimum subscription.
Yes.
But you're doing $15,000. So the drop-off rate of people that use the product once and don't sign up is huge.
The numbers don't seem to add up. Robert's right.
You're basically in an e-commerce business. It happens to be a product of psychotherapy counseling. It feels to me like you need a partner that can explain to me, because you don't seem to be able to do it, customer acquisition costs, margins, attrition, which Robert identified. You have a huge attrition rate. In other words, people come, use it, and just go away.
That's not true at all.
Well,
I mean,
then
our
why do you have
customers
no
are
sales?
addicted to the site. All of our business has been through word of mouth.
But you can't answer one of those questions. Think about it. If you,
Your numbers aren't adding up. I mean, they're just not.
I am a non-tech entrepreneur. My background
that's your answer?
Non-tech is a whole lot different than non-numbers.
I understand that. I'm building this. The first 2 years, it's been extremely difficult. The learning curve is very steep, but I've learned so much. And my vision has been validated. People are in love with this site. It gets me high, the things that people say about this site, and I get to help people. I just need to get clear on the numbers.
You just said it right there. How can you come in here and say, I need to get clear on the numbers?
B, I can go online and get...
Y'all ain't ready. Listen. I'm not. Don't don't try to say like Yvette's making fun of this person.
That's too bad. I didn't know she was cute.
No,
that's too bad.
No,
like,
cute and not knowing she didn't know the numbers. She didn't know the definitions. And then she started talking about
I need to screen these clips first. Now I got my heart broken.
No, yeah, she was. But then she started talking about something that wasn't even like 7,500 or something. She said that ain't no money. Like, why would you even do that? That's a side hustle. You don't have a business at 7,500. Then she talks about lifetime 21,000. Honey, 21,000? You get a billionaire in the room and you're talking about 21,000? You think you know stuff you don't know. And that's why that brings me back to Booker T. You think you know stuff that you don't understand. And so when you tell me I'm finna go out here and start a business event, I don't know what you're talking about.
You
I know
leave
you don't know
Robin
what you're
Givens
doing.
alone. You leave Robin Givens alone.
Oh, she said 21,000 in 3 years. Do you know how much 21,000 divided by 3 is? 21,000. That's a hustle. That's enough for you to maybe pay a car note. That is not a business. What's wrong with you? Like, I don't even think, oh my God, like, it's so many things wrong with. And then when she began, she said, I'm poised to dominate the field. What field, boo? What field you poised to dominate? I'm not trying to make this woman feel bad. She might be a subscriber. But you should have never went on. And I'm going to show you another clip from the same episode with all this business talk. Let me tell you, she don't know that she don't know. She don't know that she don't know about business. You don't even have the definitions right. You don't even know how it's supposed. You don't even know what kind of money you're supposed to be bringing in before you go and show up in front of people.
Oh no! Someone said,
and then she didn't know the numbers.
What's hard is someone said maybe she's the next Madam C.J. Walker, and then someone else said, nah, she's the next J.J. Walker.
Yeah, but Madam C.J. Walker, but then Madam C.J. Walker had time, and she was the only woman really doing that hair thing at that time. Right. You ain't the only person got this idea, and then you try to be like,
she's trying to take some of Miss Cleo's business. What do you mean?
Oh, Miss Cleo dead. May she rest in peace. May she rest in peace, Miss Cleo. Then the numbers got all fuzzy. Well, 300 to 500, and then 300 to 600. I don't know. God damn it, I don't know. I mean, she was gone, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, that's why I keep. How many times have I said we can't count? How many times have I said we can't count? We can't count. How you gonna talk about being in business and you can't count? I don't know. I'm flustered. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
You see those cheekbones though?
Then she said, she better listen. I don't know what she gonna. And then you hear she said, I'm non-tech. That ain't no excuse. That ain't no. You can count though. Nobody asked you to be an engineer.
Well, maybe
you can't count. You can't count. You want to do this though, but you can't count. You're gonna get in front of all these people and make us look crazy because you can't count.
But the cheekbones though, people are always telling me my problem is I need to get my aesthetics right. She had the aesthetics right.
She had the aesthetics right, but she didn't know nothing. It's a combination of everything. You didn't know, and the thing is, I don't even blame her for not necessarily knowing. I don't blame her for not necessarily knowing because of what you come from. Because people don't realize a lot of what these other people know is because of who they know. My uncle, my granddad, all these people, they know stuff. They've been doing this for a long time. You don't have nobody to do that. And you don't understand there's a consequence in your life to not having anybody in your sphere that knows how to do that. Or who's going to just let you fail. Even if you just starting a little shop and somebody could be like, well, I know you didn't know. It's okay. They'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Nobody's going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And some people say to me, well, Yvette, I've seen white housewives start business and they didn't know everything either. So it's not just black people. Okay, that's true. But guess what? The reason a housewife is getting her gig is because she knows other upper middle class housewives she can sell her stuff to. That's the benefit of her being who she is. That's her benefit. You don't have that benefit, and you don't understand the consequence of none of us having that benefit. She can not know stuff. She can get on Shark Tank and not know stuff, but she know a whole lot of women who like her, who would just buy from her because she's nice and she's wonderful. And we've known Becky for a long time. We don't have that.
Well, someone just, Mr. Infinity said, cute plus dumb equals broke. I think that's, I think that might be a hard truth. I don't want to say that, but maybe black men need to learn that truth too, but I think black men know it. That might be a hard truth to tell to a lot of black women.
Yeah, that you can't.
So I'm going to let you do it.
You can't go in there like that just because you got high cheekbones and you got nice teeth. Listen, you didn't know the definition of like customer, what was it? Acquisition, attrition. You saw her eyes glaze over when he said they started using those words, and he started lifetime, what do you say, lifetime earnings and all that stuff. She didn't know whether to wind her butt or scratch her watch. She didn't know what was going on. But y'all keep telling me this is what we can do. Now, listen. I just want to put up one last clip from this show. No, we got another one, Army. We got to put up the second one. We got to put up the second one because I need y'all to know how bad we got embarrassed.
So people will say all you need is a business license to succeed.
Oh Lord, you need knowledge, you need connections, you need money.
The very prominent black businessman who said all you need is a business license.
No, it don't matter. Like, people don't understand, like, the leverage you have is your relationships. That's your leverage. In these businesses, your leverage is your relationships. If you don't have relationships, what do you got? What you got? What you don't have relationships. You don't have any kind of relationships. You don't have any kind of money. You're not really making no money because, honey, $21,000 over like 3 years ain't the money for a business. That's the money. That's good. That's a good hustle. That's a good side hustle.
Actually, it's not a business. It's an okay side hustle. Let's be honest.
I mean, when the middle black family earns $1,700, is worth $1,700. $7,000 a year is enough to like pay like a Civic car note. That's decent. I'm fine with that. I ain't got no problem with that. But that's not. You don't understand business in terms of what capitalists. Mark Cuban will eat your cookies. Like, that's what he does for a living. You don't understand that? You went in there without understanding that? You had some nice graphics and you had like a nice little thing that looked like Freud. I didn't show y'all that part. But you had that and you thought that was going to be it and you thought that was going to make you business. Okay. Let's watch the second clip, please. Let's watch this.
Right there. How can you come in here and say, I need to get clear on the numbers?
I thought I had a good basic understanding.
No,
of
you were
it.
terrible. Terrible.
You have a great thing here, I think is creative in a fresh way. I think it's even has a noble purpose.
Right.
But you did a terrible job fumbling through the numbers. But I have good news for you. I'm terrible at numbers. And I'm rich. All you really need here is to find the smartest finance person you know who has an understanding of technology and make them your partner. You do that, I have no doubt in my mind you're going to have a great business. But I'm sure not going to invest in you today with that giant question mark over the numbers. I'm sad to say I'm out.
Oh, I kind of felt like, okay.
Barbara is wrong. There are key metrics to every business that you have to know. You can't subcontract that. No matter if you hire an accountant or not, there are key numbers in your business. When you have ignorance, you're not defensible. You can't fight back when you're ignorant about your numbers. I'm out.
B, your vision's in place. You've gotten all the accolades of people who like your site. You've got to learn the language of business. Otherwise, you got no shot. And you've got an opportunity here. Don't blow it. But I'm out.
So, B, you obviously are doing what you love and you have a passion. But it's scary, the problem you're having with numbers here. These numbers do not add up. I'm out.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that.
I think what's appropriate is a very simple story that I think you'll appreciate. There's an island right off the coast of South Africa where the largest population of sardines exists. Seals love sardines. Hundreds of thousands of them sit on an island, just bare rock, nothing to eat. They look at the sardines. After about 7 days, they start to starve. But they know if they go in the water, the great white sharks will eat them alive. Somebody has to go in the water from the seals to sacrifice their lives so that the others can live eating the sardines. It's the one that's starving the most that goes in first, followed by maybe a few thousand more. The ones that sacrificed their lives did it for a purpose, so the DNA of the ones that live can go on. So, B, do you know who you are in this story? You're the first seal that goes in the water. The purpose was that others will never come in here again without their numbers. They will learn from the blood in the waters that you've provided. I'm out.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Don't go swimming.
Said it right.
Whew. That was hard. Listen, the first thing I want to bring you up to, did y'all see how that blonde woman did her? She straight played you. She was looking at you and talking about you like you was so nice, and that's how you do. You better watch them in the workforce. That's how you do. Well, I think you had a wonderful idea. You just need an accountant to get together, a partner, you know, that knows the numbers better than you. And then people were like, no, she wrong. And she wasn't ever there for you like that. She was just trying to make you not feel bad, but you thought she was there for you. You thought she was going to save you. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. She ain't going to never save you. She ain't gonna never say. Let that be your lesson. She ain't gonna never say. You think we women together, heels roar. No, she lets you fall. She don't care. She don't care. She don't care. And like the thing the guy said at first, like it doesn't make sense because what you're saying is that you can only get people who are like new. It only makes sense for people who just came into the game as therapists. It don't make sense for somebody who's making money as a therapist. So you would have to get just new therapists because you're giving them like $20 an hour and you taking like 3 or 4. That's why it don't quite make sense. But there's a lot of reasons why it don't make sense, but you don't know it don't make sense because you can't count. How would you know it don't make sense? Because you can't count. And then they compare the woman to a seal. Not only that, do you see you came onto a show and then white people just decided to play with you?
You're trying not to get your ads.
Oh, take my ad away. They decided to play with you. They just decided, damn hot. They decided to play with you like that. They called you a seal and called you a sacrificial seal. They just got to jump in the water and you supposed to get 8. And that's how you get thought of. That's how we thought of. That was the most honest moment. You the person that get to jump in the water and get 8 so that other people can make money. That was the most honest moment of the whole show. The whole show was worth that. It was worth him saying that. It was worth him saying that. That you just go jump in and you got to just jump in.
That was her job. That was her job.
Yeah,
that's why they brought her on.
Well, you know, so people will come here unprepared. No. I know what you mean when you see her. When you see her, you think you think she's chum.
Yeah.
You think she's chum. I understand what you meant.
And let's be honest, and she probably doesn't have a lawyer, uncle, or anything who's gonna sue me. So I'm gonna just go right at it.
Yeah, I can just say what I want to say to you. You ain't got nobody. And that's my thing. Like you think coming from where black people come from slaves don't mean nothing. It means everything. Because you can't just go out. Like if you want to file suit against somebody, you can't just go out and be like, hey, I got the $20,000 for the retainer. And people know that. People know that you don't have that. So people take advantage. People know what they can say to you. So people take advantage. Right? People know they can make fun of you. Dude said the end of the thing, don't jump in the water. God, dog, you already done decimated the girl. You gonna tell her don't jump in the water? Because you can. Ain't nobody gonna care. Ain't nobody can do anything. And that's nothing that anybody can do. And again, this could have gone very differently if it hadn't been a black girl. If it hadn't been her. If she had a bunch of friends who were willing to kind of like, I know everybody. I'm a part of this elite organization. I'm a part of this. And all of my friends are buying into this.
Yes.
It's just relationships. It could have gone very different for her. Even if she didn't have the numbers.
Or if she had friends who would have done a few practice runs.
Yeah, with her.
But her friends don't know enough to do the practice. Let's be honest, her friends don't know enough to do the practice runs with her. Or if they do, they're going to be like, oh, that was beautiful, girl. You're
just supporting you. That's good, girl. You gonna knock them out, girl. You got your little graphics. You got your little stuff. That's good, girl. You go, girl.
They'll help her with her hair, make sure her, cheeks are right. But
they ain't enough.
yeah.
They ain't enough. Like, so I don't even, we're going to get to another part. Well, I'm trying
Are we going
to do it? What we think? We think we should do the other part tonight or no? I got a third segment, but I might need to go in on that. I don't know.
Well, okay, so what have we discussed today? Today we've decided that Booker T. Washington is more complicated than people tell you. So you need to go back and read the books. Go back and read the books. And the 2 books we gave are Up From Slavery and
The Education of Booker T. Washington.
The Education of Booker T. Washington. Go back and read the books because the Booker T that you're told about isn't the same Booker T that he said himself or that
That's all I can tell you. And so when I say citizenship, people are like, well, Yvette, what do you mean when you say that? That's why you kind of need nationalism right now. You kind of need nationalism right now. And I want to just take a quick moment to tell you how we're being represented right now in the discussions versus we're having a whole discussion right now about immigrants. We're having this whole discussion. And when you look at how they're represented, it's a human interest story. Right? It's a human interest story. We can't compete with them. But you see this article right here. This article right here, and you see what it says. These undocumented immigrants thought they could stay. Trump says deport them. And you're like, oh my God, that's so sad. It tugs in my heart. Hold on 1 minute. Let me tell you one of the stories. This is one of the immigrants in this USA Today story that I put up. Her name is Guadalupe Garcia de Rayos. Okay, she was arrested after a 2008 worksite raid by then Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio on Gofflin Sunsplash, an amusement park. Her attorney said Garcia made up a social security number to get a cleaning job at the park, a common practice among undocumented immigrants. But state prosecutors said she used 2 numbers that belonged to U.S. citizens and got to sign a plea agreement on a felony charge of criminal impersonation, according to the Arizona Republic. Let me tell you something, people. This is identity theft. The way they're talking about this woman is if, she's the backbone to her family. She's a wonderful person. That's identity theft. Do you know how difficult it is when somebody has stolen your identity and so you have income? The IRS has income that you never got. Do you know how difficult it is to get the IRS to straighten that out and to show them I never got this income. I don't know who this person is, and I never got. You don't get your refund. You're banking on your refund, but you got a whole lot to go through because Guadalupe decided to steal a number or make up a number. That's a crime. I just want to talk to black women for a second right now. Do you ever see a story about a black woman who did identity fraud? And she's talked about and she's talked about like that. Yeah, like she was trying to just take care of her family. And so she needed to she did welfare fraud. Black women, have you ever been talked about like that? Have you ever been talked about in such a way? There's another woman here who did if you go to this article, there's another woman here who did welfare fraud. And so she's getting deported because she did welfare fraud. But you don't hear these people get talked about the way black women get talked about when we do welfare fraud. Black women got kids too. Black women got kids that need support. And unlike Guadalupe, most black 10,000 per 100,000 black men in jail, mass incarceration. So you don't ever hear them say, well, this is standard practice for black women whose men have been incarcerated record numbers. Nobody ever says that. Nobody ever cares about what happens to us. Nobody ever cares. Nobody ever writes this as a human interest story. That's not how we're talked about. That's how they're being talked about, though. And you have to consider what that means. You have to talk about what that means for us. As black women, we don't get that story. We don't get talked about like this. We don't get talked about, well, they're not real criminals, they're victims. And let me tell you something, you can go to the IRS and get an ITIN and work. You don't need to make up a social. You don't have to do that. But I think you have to talk about that was a crime and these are criminals. When you commit a crime, you're a criminal. When you have welfare fraud and you use that to kind of get extra money, you try to get extra money. So you're not making enough because capital is exploiting you. So you're not making enough. So then you drop the floor. So now the wage floor is lower, but you come up. The way that you come up is by doing some little scheming stuff. And then I'm supposed to have some kind of feeling for you. I just don't. I just can't. From welfare fraud to identity theft. And let me just say something right now. This is real crime. I mean, can you start putting up clips 8 through 9 and 10? These are real crimes. that these people, like, nobody said that they haven't committed. These are real crimes. Some of them have DUIs. These are real crimes that could have real victims. You could kill somebody in a DUI. Like, if you look at this USA Today article, it's serious. But you know who didn't get any sympathy? You know who didn't get any sympathy? Do y'all remember those teachers in Atlanta?
Oh, yeah.
You remember all these teachers in Atlanta who went to jail?
Oof.
For cheating on tests? Nobody had sympathy. Now, these are teachers. I'm not saying they did the right thing, but I'm telling you that these teachers are teaching kids that come from poor neighborhoods, and the reason these kids need to cheat at all is because these kids are poor. Like, let's just be honest. A lot of these kids are poor. That's why you need to cheat, because they don't have the stuff that other people have. Nobody had sympathy for them. Did you have sympathy for those teachers? One of those women, one of those principals who was involved in this quote unquote scandal, she died. She died of cancer. You don't know how much stress could have played a role. Nobody writes a human interest story about these people. These are a bunch of Atlanta teachers who went to jail. You're talking about jail for cheating on a test. Cheating on a test is supposed to mean you lose your job at most. They went to jail. Nobody wrote a human interest story about how these were all black teachers and were scared to lose their job, and that the kids didn't have what it took to actually learn. Maybe they were hungry. Maybe that. Nobody went into that. Nobody investigated that. Nobody cared about any of that. Nobody cared about any of that. So what are you talking about? But you don't care about that. You don't care about these teachers, but you care about
Actually, that's just a political failure, is what that was. They were reacting to a political failure.
A political failure.
Like the inappropriate requirements and standards that were foisted upon them by someone else's political project, and like they were just reacting to a political failure. Yeah. It's unfortunate that they were in that position. That should have been the story.
And then jail.
And now they're in jail.
I'm looking through the sentences now. Donald Bullock, weekends for 6 months. Sharon Davis Williams, 20 years in prison, set to serve 7. $25,000 fine. Tamara Cotman, 20 years in prison to serve 7, $25,000. Michael Pitts, 20 years to serve 7, $25,000. Dana Evans, 5 years in prison, 1 to serve 1,000 hours of community service. All this stuff.
Man,
all these people.
That's a few neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Like just decimated.
Yeah.
All those middle class jobs just gone. That's a
gone.
Few, like
gone.
Like families, yeah.
And how you done been to prison? How you gonna rebuild your life after that? I don't hear nobody talking about that. And so what? Like people say, well, they belong in jail. You know, black people got to stop being real quick about saying who belong in jail. You real quick. Now you can say you need to lose your job. You can say I don't want you to be a teacher no more. But prison, these people understand what jail is. Jail is a freaking cage. Jail is a cage, and you lose everything. You lose your mortgage. You lose your house. You lose your car. Your life is over. Stop being so quick to be okay with the lives of black people being over. You'll say that stuff to me, but you won't say nothing if I say, well, hey, maybe they need to get deported. You'll be like, no, Yvette, you're xenophobe, you're awful. But if I say, but you'll be quick to say these people need to be in jail. I'm not saying they didn't do nothing wrong, but something that is wrong or immoral isn't necessarily a crime. You get charged for racketeering for something that is immoral. That is immoral that you help them cheat. That is wrong. You don't need to be a teacher, but you don't need to serve prison time.
Yeah, no, it's like as if they were like the mob.
Yeah.
They got RICO numbers.
Yeah, and this follows them. No, now you want to talk about whether or not they're gonna get employed, but I'm supposed to feel bad if somebody who stole Social Security numbers or committed welfare fraud gets deported. Like, that's bad for me to be like, well, yeah, you committed a crime. Like, you were first of all here illegally, but then you committed a crime. But if I say that, I'm wrong. But if I say, hey, let's not throw all these men and women who did this in jail because they were confronting a failure, and then they came up with that thing, all this testing, which doesn't really do a whole lot in the second place. People got 10, 15, 20 years in jail. Think about their life. Think about their family. Like, you too quick to be like, people way too quick to be like, these people belong in jail. And we got somebody said, if you about white people think I think a lot of us think we belong in jail. That's the problem.
Yeah. You
don't be like, well, I don't want you. I'm fine with you losing your job, but I don't want you to go to prison.
A lot of black people didn't have a problem with the crime bill. And I want you to fix the community. Why don't you fix it?
Right. So, I mean, it is what it is. I just want to put that out there. Like, Come on, people. Like, let's call a spade a spade.
Hey, did John Lewis come to these people? Where was he in this?
Ain't nobody coming to rescue.
He didn't.
Don't nobody come to our rescue. Like, no.
What did Kasim say about this?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure they piled on though. Ain't nobody gonna rescue you. You done wrong, and how you get charged for helping when you cheat? I mean, how you get charged for filling in bubbles on the test? You should just be like, you can't be here no more. But I don't want to even get into all the problems with standardized testing and all that stuff, especially when you're standardized testing kids that don't have a lot of money.
Right.
So
what are you looking for? You know?
Yeah, but why don't you fix the community?
Yeah.
If it ain't right, fix the community. That's what you do. That's what you do. You don't just make it. You don't just jail people.
And this is the one who passed on because of the stress.
Yeah, I think she passed away of ovarian cancer or something. Yeah. But I mean,
stress, like, it makes everything worse.
Yeah, like being that age and like facing jail and going through trial and like probably think about all the money that you have to spend too. And I'm not, like I said, you can do a immoral thing, but an immoral thing is not necessarily a thing that should land you in a cage.
Man, a lot of kids' inheritances and birthday presents and Christmases went to lawyers' fees.
And nobody had any sympathy. People saw these people as criminals, but you won't see a person who steals Social Security numbers as a criminal. You won't see a person who commits welfare fraud as a criminal. That's a crime. That's a freaking crime. A DUI is a crime. How you gonna say driving drunk is not a victimless, is like a victimless? No, that's a crime. All these things are crime. Why can't you see that as crime? Because it's written as, like, if all these people had these things written as human interest stories, it would be very different.
Yes. All right.
And that's just what it is. So we ready to go to the phones yet?
Yeah. I haven't put the number up.
Let's put the number up. We're gonna go to the phones. I want to see what y'all got to say about all of this.
All of this.
Because we had a lot to say, but I'm just saying it just is what it is. You can't be mad at me. You can't be mad at me. People serving hard time for cheating on a test. Like racketeering charges for cheating on a test. And you're gonna be like, they deserve jail. But the person who stole your Social Security number don't deserve it. The person who committed welfare fraud don't deserve it. You ain't got no sympathy for a black woman that commit welfare fraud. And she actually systemic failure for years. You ain't got no sympathy for her. These teachers were black women, a lot of them. You ain't got no sympathy for them. Stop talking about you have sympathy for other black people. You don't. You don't. That's just not true. You don't care. You care about other people more than you care about yourself. That's why Booker T. Wise told y'all to brush y'all teeth.
Dignity.
No dignity.
You have the green light on speakers?
Not yet. Hold on. Yeah, I got it now.
All right.
This is Antonio.
What's up, Antonio?
Yeah, man, just calling in, say happy birthday.
Appreciate it.
60th. But no, nonetheless, happy birthday. You know, I know everybody that watches this show really wants to support you. But getting to the point, I thought that, I wanted to make like 2 points particularly. First of all, everybody please check out my new video on Obama and Trump. I just did one because we had Angela Rye say something about Obama being Jesus, being required to be Jesus. I don't think too many black people require him to be Jesus at all.
No.
To vote for him, we didn't require anything.
No, I just wanted a jobs bill.
What the point I wanted to make is first, it's interesting when we watch that Shark Tank video with that young lady, we talked about it before, is one of the more interesting parts to me is despite all of her failures, she still thought she should slide through. And was willing to sit there and be subjugated to all of the ridicule. You know, at some point, you would think she would have some kind of self-respect and actually like walked out when you realize your numbers ain't right.
Yeah.
And so you ain't got no product, your numbers ain't right, and the dude looks like he's about to just like slam you at the end, but you don't stand there and hopefully somebody, takes favor on you and lets you slide through. And isn't that quintessentially like what you were talking about in the show today?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
And that's what. Thank you, Antonio. But that's what we think black entrepreneurship is. Go ahead.
Y'all don't hear me press the button. The other thing I want to say is, as an attorney, I want everybody to kind of understand what you were pointing out earlier with those immigrant stories. Is usually like we kind of take some umbrage of understanding if people are ignorant to the law. And they say ignorance to the law isn't even a defense. So let's say somebody literally thinks that it's legal to do something and they make a mistake. Like drive over double yellow lines in the carpool. You still get a carpool ticket, but like we could take that and actually put that into the human story. These are actual stories where you know the law and you purposely decide to sidestep it. And it's actually over a course of a period of time. So these are the people who first, what we're talking about right now, first came into the country illegally. That's one crime. And they came here and did 2 to 3 more crimes while they were here. And then we're going to see them as humans. I just want to make sure everybody got that clear. Thank you so much for letting me talk.
No problem. Thank you, Antonio. No, I agree. Like, you know, they you knew, and even when they say, well, they're going to break up the families. Do y'all want to break up the families? You knew when you came here illegally that was a possibility. If you get caught, if you have kids here, you know they're going to be citizens. You know you're not a citizen. Like, how is that the responsibility? And nobody ever says that when mass incarceration. Like, you're going to break up this black family. Do you want to break up this black family? You got this black man, and he has a woman, he has a wife, he has a girlfriend, they have kids, they have a life. Nobody ever says that about us. Nobody ever tells a human interest story about us. So I'm just telling you, like, to start caring about yourself and see this as like they made a decision. They made a decision to do this. This was a decision. And so, you know, I just want to drive that home. Before I go on to the next call, you know, this is Yvette Carnell. I'm Yosef Frimbong, breakingbrown.com. This is what we do every Monday and Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're interested in political education. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe if you haven't already. Please tweet it. Please hit the notifications. It's a little notification. Looks like a bell. And just click it, and it'll let you know when we're on. Go to breakingbrown.com to subscribe to the newsletter. Newsletter comes out every Sunday, and you can also contribute to the site there. You can go to Donate Brown and contribute as well. So, you know, just want to put that out there before we take the next call.
Someone said they've been breaking up our family since 1555.
They have, and and we don't even care. It's not even the fact that we don't even care. You'll get on me. You know what? If I say that a black family was broke up by mass incarceration, you'll be like, yeah, but he must have done something wrong, and he knew he was wrong. But if I say, well, you know, they're going to get deported, that's wrong, and they shouldn't do that, and Trump ought to be ashamed of himself. You don't care about your own people. Like, that's something like, before you even get into what's happened to us, we don't care. Like, nobody cares that these black men are in cages, 10,000 per 100,000. You don't care. Like, how do you expect other people to care if you don't care? If you out of the airports right now, you got black people that were out of the airports when the Muslim, quote unquote, Muslim ban happened. When last time you were out the jail protesting? Ever?
All right.
Hello, can I be heard?
Hey, how you doing?
Miss Yvette, just wanted to say happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And, my birthday's March 2nd, so we're both Pisces. And,
I'm an Aries. I'm an Aries, bro.
In the future,
I'm an Aries.
I'm sorry, madam?
I'm an Aries.
Oh, you're an Aries. Okay, dang it. I thought it was the same month, meant the same. But I hope in the future we can actually talk, because I'm in Georgia, so I would love to engage with you about Booker T. Washington. But very good show. I love it.
Thank you.
Clips that you were made that with the woman was very hard to watch, but high cheekbones and a pretty face is not going to hurt. It's not always going to help you. And she didn't know what she was getting into. But that's fascinating that illegal immigrants can get DUIs and everything like that. But then they are being held as victims and they shouldn't get out. But school teachers from Atlanta, let's put them in prison. Very good point.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate that, caller. I mean, yeah. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, and it's just very disturbing to me. What's most disturbing to me is how we react to each other. Like, how dismissive if you say, oh my God, he got locked up. Well, he probably did. Ain't no telling what he did. That's what's most disturbing to me. And so I thank the last caller, and I agree. Yep.
How's it going?
How's it going? What's up?
Well, this is Mr. Black. I hope I don't scare you again with my commentary, but I really love the show. I love what you guys do here. But I really wanted to bring up the fact that I don't know if you guys have heard about the RAISE Act that's being proposed by Senator Cotton and Purdue.
Uh-oh.
What is that?
Tom Cotton is a trouble.
I think I know what you're talking. I think I know what you're talking about. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's an act that they're introducing that is going to reduce. Well, it's going to completely end the visa lottery. It's also going to limit the annual refugee admissions to like 50,000. I think right now it's 100,000, and it's going to reduce legal immigration by 50%. And it also is going to end chain migration where people are because you got to understand, like what a lot of people don't understand about this immigration issue is that only 1/16 of the actual immigrants that are coming over here are actually productive citizens. And, so 15 out of every 16 are just leeching off for the government. So, and to me, that's very problematic in the sense that, a lot of African-American children are being demonized for a lot of the same things, for getting welfare benefits and all of these things. And we're actually paying welfare benefits to a lot of these immigrants who are not producing anything, but at the same time, they're not even patriotic about the country. So, and it'll also reduce like a lot of the chain migration as well, like with people being able to come over here and bring all of these limitless amounts of family members over here to the States. And then it will, and it also adds like a 5-year renewable to it. So what that does is it not basically, if you have a certain skill that you come over here for, you're only over here while that skill is necessary. And once we can produce American citizens that can fit that spot, then we'll send you back, and then you renew your visa after 5 years, which I think is phenomenal for black folk, because at the end of the day, we need those jobs, and we don't need for them to continuously start because we're completely almost shut out of Silicon Valley. I mean, it's our percentages there are almost
nothing
negligible.
Nothing.
I mean, it's an anomaly for a black man to be there, and I think that that's a tragedy because we're just allowing these other people from these other countries to just come over here and live indefinitely. I just wanted to bring that up, and if anybody wants to support that act, huh?
No, I heard. No, go ahead.
If anybody wants to support that act, you can write U.S. Senator Tom Cotton at 124 Russell Senate Office Building in Washington, D.C. at 2510. Because, I think we just need to let him know that African Americans are out here supporting these types of initiatives because it's going to be beneficial for us. But I was the guy who called in about, the IQ thing and about how we could, start trying to arrange some of these marriages, But I know that's a controversial topic, but I just wanted to put that out there about the RAISE Act.
Thank you. We appreciate that. This is what I always ask people. Like, does our immigration policy make sense? We have the most immigrants. I was reading it. It's a UN study that we have the most immigrants.
Hey, it makes sense if you want cheap nannies, cheap gardeners. It just doesn't make sense for black people.
If you want cheap labor as a capitalist or as a person who's up in the upper echelons, it makes sense. It doesn't make sense for people who have to compete with those people. And what I've asked people just in general is like, what is wrong with having an immigration policy where what you do with your immigration policy is you allow people in based on the needs of the economy? Not just because these people want cheap labor, but what is the need of the economy, and give those people work visas for however long they're here. What is wrong with that? And nobody will ever answer that question for me. I've never had anybody answer that question.
Because like some of these immigration policies might actually be good for the GDP. They're just not good for black people.
Well, even if they're good for the GDP, like okay, if it's good for the economy, let's say you're going to build a bunch of stuff, and so you need laborers, you don't have enough. Then okay, you can say that makes sense. If you could make the argument for me, but nobody has said like, well, if we have enough cheap labor, we have enough black people and even unemployed white people, so why do we need immigrants to bring in cheap labor when we have cheap labor? Nobody has told me like why we need to do that. Just explain it.
The capitalists like cheap labor.
Cheaper than us. Cheaper than Americans is what they like.
Yeah. All right, keep it moving.
Yep.
You're on.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Yes. Yes. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on.
Yes, I have two points I want to make.
Okay.
The first, happy birthday, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm surprised I got through. The first one I want to make is about the respectability politics, and it's a big problem because my whole life I've just watched everybody pretty much measure what we do based off of what white people do. And it is very problematic because if you are a black person who does not have a certain educational level, nobody else is going to listen to you regardless. And it is gotten to the point where even the respectability politics are not working anymore. So you have you have people who are in positions. You go to school for public policy and things like that, but nobody is going to listen to you when it comes time to who we should be voting for, what we should be doing. That's why I think this show is very important. But one problem I have is a lot of people are not listening. When you're saying we need black politics, it's very true, but it's kind of hard when you don't know who you're supposed to listen to. I think we kind of get confused and thinking that everybody's going to grasp this concept all together, and I just don't think that is true. You still need leaders. You still need leaders. And if you have people like yourself and even Irony, in school, whatever, and stuff like that, we need people who we can vote for. It's kind of a shame that I'm from Chicago, and you have people like Chance the Rapper, somebody who's never even been to college, and I know his background as far as his father and who he works for, and I thought it was strange that nobody else thought it was strange that you get this young rapper going to speak with the governor as far as what he's supposed to be doing with us for education, and there's this big elephant in the room that's like, well, you're not even doing that yourself. And then to add insult to injury, when you didn't get what you thought was going to happen, you're just going to throw some money at the problem. That was just very problematic to me. Yeah. We need people who we can look at and say, okay, this is the person that I want to vote for. What this person says makes sense. And if we never get to that point, I don't think I think we're going to keep running to the same things over and over and over again. But you will have people who have practiced the art of responsibility politics telling us what we should do in fear of us being shamed, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. I appreciate it. Yeah. Respectability politics, tells white people that they don't have to share power with you. Right? They don't have to actually do politics with us. So, I mean, yeah, I get it. And somebody made a good point about the immigrant thing. Like, there is no such thing as economy. They're working class people. And I agree with that. The only thing I'm saying is that, like, if we had, like, a huge jobs bill, and, like, we were actually at a point where we were having problems finding workers. Like, we were just like, we can't find enough people to build all these trains and all these bridges that we got falling down. What we going to do? We keep applicating. Then I would be like, okay. But I don't see that happening. Like, I just don't see that happening. If that happened, then we're just like, there's a shortfall. We got 30,000 applicants, and we need 100,000 jobs. I'd be like, well, you're going to have to bring somebody, and you got to build it, right? I just don't see that happening. So, yeah. I totally get it, though. This has to be based on what's best for working class people who are, but in this working class Americans, I'm not a part of any kind of globalist government. This is America. I'm on America. Whether you like it or not, whether
my
you
vote
love
doesn't
it,
matter. My vote doesn't matter in Angola.
Yeah, it don't. So don't tell me about, well, what you gonna do about, I saw that was a great thing I saw about, well, it wasn't great, but like the Indians going after unfairly targeting Nigerians in India. And I'm just like, this whole idea that like all black and brown people on the same side of everything and in solidarity, it's just not true. It's just not true. Like it's complicated. There are cultural boundaries. There are all sorts of boundaries that prevent that from happening. And they ain't like, oh, I'm in solidarity with the Nigerians who come here to work. What are you talking about? We're
gonna drill down. She mentioned a point. I want to drill down a little bit harder.
Go ahead.
So there's a way in which respectability politics is actually an anti-politics. It's a kind of politics that says, make sure that you signal that you don't have political claims.
Oh.
And that's very important. Because a lot of the game and a lot of the con and strategies that have kept black people down and kept us from making our political claim is a quality of politics, a quality of culture that repeatedly tells you that no, don't make political claims, be happy with charity, be happy with the economics, do not become political. And respectability politics is a kind of anti-politics. It's a strategy to keep black people from actually doing politics. So I have to ask you, you went to an HBCU, like, they produce a lot of black professionals. I think that's great. They actually produce a lot of black politicians, I think. Not so many as like black dentists, but like they produce a lot of black politicians.
Probably.
Do they produce the kind of politics that's a good politics, or do they produce the quality of respectability politics, which I said before is an anti-politics?
I say both. I say both.
Both.
Because they produce a lot of people who go on and move on to like congressional kind of respectability, politics, and then they produce people who are actually activists. But that's at Howard. Like at the time that I was at Howard, there was
activist. What about Morehouse?
When I was at Howard, there was like radicals on campus who were reading Stokely Carmichael, knew who Fred Hampton was, knew who all these people was, and what that meant, and that's what they were on. And there were other people who were doing other things. So I think Howard kind of produced both. I can't speak to other schools. I can't speak
to Morehouse.
Yeah, I can't speak to other schools. I don't know. I don't know. Anybody from Morehouse, and they'll tell me what y'all do at the school, man. But I don't know.
I want to know what kind of politics is being. Is it because I do think respectability politics is actually an anti-politics.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, and we need to think of it that way. And remember, anybody who's trying to like push you to charity, and that's what we got with Chance the Rapper's, public-private partnership, where he donates ticket sales to CPS. That's charity. That's an anti-politics. It's a distraction. Especially when you have like $1 billion, when you include pension shortfall, like $1 million is nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's.
That's true.
Let's keep it going.
Yep.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Yes, just a few points here.
Okay.
Here, Americans, we have to be careful because we have allowed the political leaders and immigrants to redefine what immigration is. People are baffled when it comes to individuals coming over here illegally. They have marched and determined that they are U.S. citizens because they here and they pay taxes. That does not define a U.S. citizen. And another thing, especially black people, we have to be careful. Illegal aliens, undocumented, whoever you want to call them, their children are not citizens. You cannot be a citizen under the 14th Amendment by coming here illegally. That 14th Amendment was put in place for the descendants of the freedmen, which were the slaves that were freed after the Civil War. That is our birthright to citizenship here in this country. You cannot come here illegally and say, well, my children are citizens. And that's been a problem. That has been a problem, and that's why people, get this emotional thing about they're breaking up families. First of all, what good parent would leave a country and leave their child there? Take your children with you. There's no need. Everybody go. You all can go if you're all over here illegally. But black people, as black citizens, we really need to look at that 14th Amendment so that we know that it's being hijacked. That belongs to us. And then another thing, this H-1B visa. We don't need those people here. There are enough Americans to work in the computer and engineering field who are out of work. It has been shown that the vast majority of the H-1B visa holders just have bachelor's degrees. So it's really it's really an assistant to corporate America. It has nothing to do with what we need over here. And these people have gotten to the point that they feel we need them. And that's why everybody's trying to fight. These illegals trying to fight. H-1B visas, immigrants are fighting. I've seen some programs with the Indian station. They need us over there. No, we don't. We have plenty of people, including myself, in IT who is unemployed.
Yeah.
You know, with a bachelor's degree. So you're trying to tell me that individuals from a third world country have a higher education, intellect than people here in the United States? If that's the case, why are they flocking here to go to school, but we're not flocking there?
Yeah.
So we have to be careful.
Yeah.
We have allowed, you know, people to redefine everything around us, and then, you know, we're running in circles like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know?
No.
But you know, we really have to be careful.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Carl.
That's just.
Thank you, Carl.
That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Carl. I agree. And let me just, before I get into that, let's just be honest. Illegal immigrants cannot unionize, right? So they can't be a part of the labor movement in this country.
Well, they're not going to organize.
They can't.
Right.
They can't because they're here illegally.
They can't.
They don't have a full-throated claim. That's the problem. The problem is that they lower the floor because they don't have a choice. Like if you're a citizen and something happens, you can organize, and there's no threat hanging over your head of getting deported. You don't have that. Right. So when you talk about the labor movement, that's how they debase. It's not about being xenophobic. It's not about any of that. It's about how you undermine labor and how you undermine a lot of the gains that we've made over the years because you can't lay claim to them because you're not a citizen. But it also kind of strange, like the woman said, that you know, we've kind of let illegal immigrants kind of define what an immigrant is. So they'll come up to you and tell you, I'm not illegal, I'm just here undocumented. Well, that's not what the law says, though. That's what you say. That's not, you just making stuff up.
You can't just come here and tell me what my country is.
Yeah, you can't just come here and tell me. I think the law is very clear. Like, you know, it's kind that you know. So I think she's kind of right about that. And this is like she said something very interesting. Well, they're not better than us. No, they're not better, but they're cheaper. Right. And I think that's the thing we have to hone down on. It's not about anybody being better than you. We know they're not. They're cheaper. They work harder. They'll work 80 hours a week. Whereas you being a citizen of a first world country, you think you deserve a life. Right? So they're cheaper. And the thing is, what I keep trying to tell people is this benefits capitalists. It doesn't benefit like Americans. It doesn't benefit workers. It benefits capitalists.
So the same people. No, we can bring this back to the first to Booker T. Washington. The same people who picked Booker T. Washington, you know, when his old slave master picked him and said, "You're wonderful, and here's some money." The same people who picked Booker T. Washington to be the leader of progress in America are picking undocumented
as their preferred workers.
As their preferred workers.
Because they're cheap.
Right.
And that's not even good for them.
Right.
Because we say, well, we're doing a great thing. No, most of their family, most of the people who live in these countries, like you got somebody coming from Honduras or whatever, they're not doing well. They're not doing great. Like the thing we need to do if you want to do something is like rein America in terms of adventurism, in terms of going over there and destabilizing their countries. Like if you want to do some real stuff, do that and be like, we're not going to co-sign that no more. That you just go over there and just take everything from them and just rip them apart, you know. And we're not going to co-sign that anymore. That's what you want if you really want to help. Going to the airport or whatever, that's not really helping is saying, hey, we're going to restrain. We're going to work to restrain our government from doing all this stuff that we don't want it to do. But that takes a lot of heavy lifting. It's just easier to just be like, I love everybody.
All right. Next call.
Mm-hmm. Hello? Hello? Yeah?
Yeah, you're on.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm just calling in, first time caller, just coming to say hi. I owe $70,000 student loan.
Okay.
Crazy.
That's a house. All right, man. You gotta keep talking.
One thing I wanted to say, I've been listening to you knocking down Uber and Lyft. I really don't think this ride-sharing company are really not that bad in terms of making money.
Okay. Well, no, we'll talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, thanks, caller. We'll talk about that. But it is. Yeah, but it is. And like the only reason that you don't think it's that bad is because you haven't added and subtracted.
Well, you don't have to worry about job discrimination, right?
Well, yeah, you do because you exist on how you're rated. Right. Like you exist on getting like a 4-star, 5-star, whatever it is, and you don't know how, depending on what community you're in, like white people are gonna rate you based on anything else. Like you don't even have the EEOC or anybody to be like they discriminated against you. How you gonna say like the people who rode in my Uber discriminated against me? You can't say anything. Like it's just hitchhiking. It's hitchhiking, and you gotta take in the cost of your car. You gotta take in the cost of your safety. I saw a story recently where a woman who said that the person who rode in her Uber car or whatever cheated her by $1, so she stalked the person. She stalked the person who you got to take all of it into account. You're not taking into account your safety. You're not taking into account your back is to somebody. Your back is to somebody that you don't know from Adam in the back of your car. You don't know that person. That is your life. Okay? You don't know what is going to happen to you. You're picking up somebody. You're picking up hitchhikers. Just say it like, I'm okay with picking up hitchhikers. You don't account for the wear and tear on your car. You don't account for the fact that you can be deactivated from Uber at any minute. And there's no labor protection to help you out. You don't account for the fact that Uber could come up. I know they had a problem recently with their driverless cars, but you don't account for the fact that when they do get driverless cars all in everywhere, that you're out of a job.
Hey, if you get deactivated from Uber, do you get unemployment?
No, I don't think so. You're not an employee because you're not an employee. You're not an employee. You don't get unemployment because you're not an employee. You a subcontractor. You are an employee, but Uber has totally decimated labor law, so you're not an employee, so you don't get anything. And they don't have to have really a reason to do it. They can just deactivate you and it's just over. That's the cost of Uber. That's the real cost. And that's what you're not calculating. But that's always what I say about us. We gotta learn to count.
Hey, this is Nate Johnson from Detroit. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Nate. How you
doing? What's going on? Listen, you said the one key thing was the labor laws that was knocked down. This is the problem that I have with immigrants is they don't understand the work that it takes to build a country like a first world country. You need those laws to protect you. And the problem when you come from a place that doesn't have the kind of laws that we have, you don't understand it. You just so quick to say, oh, it's okay, because you're giving me a paycheck. Mm-hmm. That's not what I was calling for. I was calling for the whole reason of citizenship is that black people need to let go of this thing of no reparations. The thing is that the government understands that if we make a claim and actually get that claim, the check is going to be astounding. And the thing is that we don't even have to go back to slavery. I am directly affected from crack cocaine launched into our cities and the over-policing in our cities. Yep. My father went to jail for 18 years. My mother had 5 years of dealing with crack cocaine addiction. These are things that was done specifically to our communities. We have to understand our citizenship in this country because all the things that they have done to us, dating all the way back to slavery, if you're so silly you don't want to go back that far, we can just go back 20, 30, 10, 5, however many years you want. We have to state a claim, double down on being black, because that is worth something. That's all I want to say.
Good,
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that, caller. Yeah, he made a very good point. You ain't got to go back to slavery. The stuff that was done to black communities did not begin or end with slavery. So we ain't got to go back that far. We ain't got to go back. And I think he's absolutely right. And I think he's absolutely right too in terms of like, immigrants in terms of first world versus third. I hate first world versus third world but it's like industrialized versus unindustrialized. So they're just trying to make money to send home and do what they got to do and build their middle class if they have one like Mexico is doing, or if they're Honduras is trying to escape. Like, all immigrants aren't the same. That's another whole part of the discussion that's not right. A Syrian immigrant is not a Mexican immigrant, is not a Honduran immigrant. Those are very different circumstances. So to talk about them all as if they're the same is a problem too. But like, we fought for a lot of stuff throughout these years, and we fought for that stuff, and we purchased that stuff with blood. Like, all these rights we purchased with blood, and by having some people here who can't unionize and who can't do this stuff, it just undermines the entire labor movement in this country. And so that's how we have to look at it. It's not about a group of people. It's not about not liking a group of people. It's like, I don't want to undermine what we fought for. I don't want to undermine what we gained through all these movements because capitalists want cheap labor. That's not what I want.
Okay. You wanted a shorter show today, right? So one more?
Just last one. We'll take the last one now. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm calling from the Bay Area.
Ooh.
Oh.
Now, one point I want to make is that I work in a major city, San Francisco, and
black person in San Francisco? No.
None. However, there is a large population of, let's say, Asians that own property in one of the most in parts of the city that, you know, you're talking about they're paying cash for $1 million homes, but there are no black communities, and that has to be something that speaks of the condition that black people are in this country. Now, I'm just saying that's a result of something. I mean, I want to be able to say, you know, we're responsible for building our communities, but San Francisco, from one point around 2004, 2005, went from 17% black to now, I believe it's about 3% black.
Yeah, this is old, so that's probably right.
So
he's probably right.
With no community, no stores, no ownership of property or land, and if there is, it's just a very small percentage.
Ask him about Kamala Harris.
Hire, let's say, just to make a point, Hispanics can hire Hispanics, like in their markets, the auto shops, and things like that. But somehow we're not able to do that. We can't do that.
No.
Whenever we go for a job, we're not coming to one another. I mean, you might have a representative in HR doing the interview, but the company is owned by something other than black people.
I'll ask him about Willie Brown and Kamala Harris.
What would you say about the political? What would you say about the political leadership there, like Willie Brown, Kamala Harris? Do you have an opinion about that?
Well, I think the communities have been undermined. I think we all have a degree of responsibility for these conditions. However, I believe that there's always other powers. I mean, it's hard to say, but the result, the fact of the matter is, the black community is decimated. There is none.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
we
Carl.
don't own anything. I mean, we have to hold ourselves responsible, of course, but are there political powers that also prevent us from having the mind of being owners?
Of course. But it's not the mind, it's the money.
Trained or educated
and
to
the education.
Find a job, not.
Well, but thank you, Carla. I appreciate it. But it's not just the mind. People. I hate when people say, "Well, entrepreneurship is a mindset." No, you need the relationship.
I can't move to San Francisco because of my mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the culture.
It's not the $3,000 rent.
It's the money. It's the money. I mean, people don't want to talk about it, but it's the money, it's the relationships. Like the people who are out there in Silicon Valley now, those people, even the kids who are out there, come from good families. So they can kind of meander and do what and sleep in cars and all this kind of stuff. But these people aren't coming from awful families. I mean, in terms of like, when I talk about awful, it's about money. I'm talking about money. You know, just 6% of San Franciscans, people from San Francisco residents are African American, yet 56% of jail inmates are black. 6% are black, but the 56% of jail. Like, this is what they do.
This is an old number. That 6% probably went down to 3.
It ain't no black people in San Francisco no more. Unless they in a jail cell.
Right.
This is and the fact that we sit around and instead of saying you better stop locking us up. I'll never vote for another Democrat, and I will come to your jail and organize. Instead of doing that, we'd be like, well, we ain't got the right mindset. No, the society has been systematically used to disenfranchise us and put us in cages to take us out of the game.
Honestly, since there aren't enough black people in San Francisco left to make a movement, I think like nationwide we should be going like Nancy Pelosi. What have you done to the black people in San Francisco?
Yeah,
like nationwide, like black people nationwide to be like, who's the speaker? Who's this minority leader who's been treating black people like garbage? Like what's going on in your city, Nancy?
And that's
Pelosi?
the problem with people like Joy Reid, though, right? You get on TV and say Nancy Pelosi, she can whip up the vote. She's great. Joy Reid, you're ridiculous. Like, we're talking about how she is in terms of black people. Who cares? I don't care whether or not she can whip up votes for Democrats. What are you doing? What are you doing for black people in your community?
And the Bay Area is also a very peculiar place, and we have to watch this in our politics, especially if you want to resuscitate the Democratic Party, which you may or may not. How it became diverse and how it became like a land for everyone. And this you might be able to say for all of California, how it became a land for everyone except black people. It became very rich and very well-to-do and very progressive.
Very diverse, just not for black people.
Yeah, exactly. Very diverse, very progressive by getting rid of black people.
And that's how you get wiped out. That's why I hate diversity. People say, well, we're diverse. Yeah, but you ain't got no descendants of slaves. But you diverse. Well, we have a diverse workforce. Yeah.
Problem.
Yeah. You got some Africans and you got some Chinese and but you ain't got no black people. Like we have to be specific in terms of who we are. This is not about excluding anyone, but we're gonna perish. We're gonna go the way of the dodo bird this way. If we just keep it like, well, they're diverse. I don't care. No. Tell me how many descendants of slaves they got on staff. That's what I want to know. I don't care about all the rest of that stuff.
We gotta talk about San Francisco as a losing city.
Yeah,
like they failed.
50% in jail, and we talking. Don't.
That's a failure of a city.
Anybody who tells you about mindsets is insane. Like, don't even talk to them. When you see 50%, that's a systemic failure. That's not an individual failure. That's a systemic failure. That means that the system, the city, the leadership has failed the black community. That's what it means. And you can't see this any other way. And you can't have any other conversation. Because when you start talking about mindset, you're talking on their turf. You're on the enemy's turf. They've gotten you on where they want you to play. Don't play on that field. You play on that field, you're going to lose.
We can't get venture capital money in the Bay Area because of our mindset.
Yeah, our mindset. It's
just one of these days we're going to have to find like someone to talk about what it would be like for a black person to try to get VC money in the Bay Area.
I wish I would go ask somebody.
Like who's going to I need a few $1 million because I have this idea. Like, who's gonna fund a black person?
I got this great idea.
Like, I don't.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank all you. I want to thank everybody. If we didn't get to your call tonight, I apologize.
Remind people about the book club.
I want you all to get these two books. These two books, Up From Slavery and The Education of Booker T. Washington. Get these two books. We're going to discuss these two books in May. That gives you 2 months. That gives you plenty of time. Y'all sitting around watching Real Housewives. Y'all watching football games. Y'all watching baseball games now. What's in season? All this kind of stuff. This gives you plenty of time to read both these books. Like Up From Slavery is a quick book. You know, the Education of Booker T. Washington is a longer book, but this gives you till May. And we're talking late May. We're going to give you 2 months from now. That gives you plenty of time to read these books, think about how you feel about them, and have this conversation.
Think about what that means for black politics.
Yeah, and what Booker T. Washington means for black politics, and decide what we're going to do for him. That gives you, please read these books, and I will tell you when. I think what we need to do, I'll create a little bookshelf, and every time we do books, we'll put another little book on our bookshelf, right, that we finished, or that we need to get to. So we'll have a bunch of books on our bookshelf, and this is about political education, right? So I want you to do that. If you're watching this on Facebook, please share it with your friends. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. Please also share it. Please hit the bell so that you get notifications when we get it. Please share it. If you frequent groups, but if you frequent groups on Facebook, please share it in your Facebook group so that you all can have those. That's what groups are for anyway, to have those discussions, so that we can have those conversations. You can go to donatebrown.com to donate. You can go subscribe to Brown and subscribe to our mailing list. And if you wanna get the weekly newsletter that comes every Sunday, go to breakingbrown.com. And remember to check your spam folder, check your also, you know, your other folders. A lot of little folders in there, like a lot of little promotions folders. Make sure you check those if you don't get it, because this past week it went out to everybody. But I also got emails from some of you who said you didn't get it. So if you didn't get it, I'm gonna send you that. You know, I'm working on it. I'm gonna send you that. So don't think Yvette sent her email and she replied. I don't know why she didn't say nothing. I got it. I'm getting to it. And you know, the intern's working on some stuff too. We still got the forum coming out, and you know, we're working hard and doing the best we can. So
all right.
thank you all, and thank you for wishing me a happy birthday. Love y'all. Appreciate it. Ain't it right, Iron?